Hello and welcome back. In this video, we're going to further set up our CLI expense tracker app with the Cobra CLI, and then also define our struct that will match up with our CSV data file. Let's get right into it. Now, to take care of most of the boilerplate and wiring up it would take to add commands and subcommands and flags to our CLI application, we can just use Cobra. Now, Cobra CLI isn't some third-party package that's really small and obscure. It's actually used by Hugo, Kubernetes, and the GitHub CLI. So if we scroll through the documentation, we can see here down near the bottom the installation and usage section. So for installing, this command right here, if we input it into our terminal, it will go ahead and get the Cobra package for us that we can use in Go. And this is how we import it. And lastly, the usage section will download an entirely different CLI tool called Cobra CLI that will help initialize and scaffold our project. So let's go hop back over to VS Code and input these commands. So back in the expense tracker folder, go ahead and paste this into the terminal and enter. And it should go ahead and download the Cobra package for Go. And then lastly, we need to install that CLI tool. So then go ahead and copy this command, enter, and then this one will take a little bit longer because it's downloading an entire program for you to run. And looks like we're good. And so once you've finished installing that, you can go ahead and type Cobra CLI and you'll get the description and everything else related to it printed out. And that's how you would know that the Cobra CLI was properly installed. Now, if you're on Mac or Linux and you typed in this Cobra CLI command and it did not work, you might need to go to your bash rc or bash_profile file and add an export to export your Go binary there. Then it should be able to work. I'll go ahead and add some of those instructions down in the description. Now let's go ahead and scaffold this project with the Cobra CLI tool. I'll clear my terminal here. And what we need to run is Cobra CLI init. And you should only be doing this if you've already initialized your Go module. So if I open up this folder here on the left, and then I hit enter back in my terminal, we can see that now we have some new folder and a main.go and a license. So let's inspect each of these files in the folders respectively. So over here, it generated a license file for us to write some license text in here, but we're going to ignore that for now. Then we also have the main.go file. And as you can see, it's very simple. It just imports the CMD file that it needs to execute the command. And the only function that's in here is cmd.execute. So let's go ahead and follow this path over to CMD. So you open up the CMD folder and we see a root.go file. Upon opening that, we see that we have two import statements, OS and the Cobra Go package. And we have one single command that was thrown in here, which is a variable called root CMD. And it's a pointer or an instance of a Cobra command where it's passed 3 different arguments for its attributes. We have the use, and then a short description and long description. And then you can see this comment right here saying, uncomment the following line if your bare application has an action associated with it. And so you can add an optional run command where you can pass in basically any code in between here to then run something. And here's that execute function that was called back in main.go. And it just looks for an error and then exits if there was any kind of error. And lastly, there's an init function to add a flag over to the root command, but we'll cover that a little bit later. So to ensure that the Cobra CLI initializes this project properly, go back to your terminal and we'll just type go run and period, just to run the main.go file that we already have. We do that. We get the long description that was printed out. As you can see, a longer description is right here, and then the rest of that string is printed out. So now we know that the root command is working properly. Lastly, before we start doing any major programming in this project, let's go ahead and define our data model. So if we go look at the expenses.csv, we have a header, which is ID, source, amount, and created at. And we need to go ahead and model this back over in a Go struct. So in the expense tracker, we'll go ahead and create a new folder called models. And within the models folder, we'll have expense.go. Now we'll go ahead and put expenses CSV over to the right so we can still see it. And in this expense.go, we have to first declare a package that it's in. So it's going to be in the models package, and we're not going to import anything. So to define our struct, you just start out with type, and it will be called expense. It's a struct. And now it's time for us to define some of the fields. So just matching up with our CSV, we have an ID field that actually is not going to be of type string. We'll just make it a uint because we'll never have a negative ID. Then we'll have a source, which will be of type string. So wherever the income or the expense comes from. Next, we'll have the amount. So amount, and that is going to be an int 64. And how we'll represent money in this is actually in cents rather than a dollar amount split by a decimal, just due to how floats and precision works in programming. Lastly, we'll have the created at timestamp, and we actually need to import a package for this, which is time. So I'll just go ahead and do time.time. Go ahead and save this, and that'll auto import time for us. All right, that's it for the video. In the next one, we'll start adding some commands to our program and doing more intensive coding. If you made it this far in the video, I hope you learned something, and please consider liking and subscribing. I'll see you in the next one.